February 25th, 2021. From El Cajon in San Diego, California, this is episode 227 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting safely at his home is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Now, of course, Mike, we start these episodes checking in on you. How are you feeling?
Yes. Oh, doing okay. Still a little bit under the weather. Can't shake this, which I guess has been diagnosed as pneumonia.
Oh, yikes.
But it is getting better.
Because when I saw you on Saturday, you seemed great.
I felt pretty good.
In fact, David, my son David, afterwards was saying, wow, that's the best I've seen Mike in a long time.
Saturday was the best I felt in I can't even remember how long ago.
Yeah.
Then Sunday afternoon, back to feeling crappy again. So I don't know if I was just having a really good day that day.
Well, you were at the casino. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah, that probably had something to do with being happy there and then not so happy when I got home. We weren't there late. Gosh, you were there like a very short time with David. And I think I stayed maybe like 45 minutes after you left.
I know. I was surprised
30.
when I heard you were home already. I thought, well, this is going to be a long night for Mike. But yeah, you went home.
No, I went home. I didn't want to get worse.
All right. Well, I guess congratulations on kind of feeling better and good luck moving forward.
Right. Kind of feeling better.
Pneumonia. Are you taking anything? What do you do?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Oh, you get a lot of rest and you put your head under a pot of hot water a lot and you do breathing exercises and you take antibiotics. So,
all right. You're going to be better in no time then.
No time.
All right, well, let's move on to the gambling podcast that you and I host. So we got an email from listener Chris. He sent us a link to a YouTube video by user Let It Roll, demonstrating a series of craps bets that he calls the Marching Soldier. And when Chris first sent us this, it's like, boy, I seem to remember us thinking about this or having heard of it, or maybe we had talked about it on the show before, but I couldn't find any reference to it. So I thought it'd be kind of a fun thing to talk about. So Let It Roll, that's the user's name on YouTube. He describes it as being sort of a craps side bet that you do yourself. The idea is that you're betting that all the box numbers will be rolled in order before a 7. So in other words, you're betting that 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10 will be rolled in that order. Not necessarily in a row, and you can have repeaters in there, but in that order, somehow in that order, before a 7 is rolled. So I
haven't seen that too often. I mean, I don't remember seeing that.
Well, no, this is not. See, so it's not a real side bet. It's
I know. I mean,
you're just seeing the numbers come up like that. I see.
Yeah, in the course of play, you know how sometimes you see somebody roll a 10 and then a 9 and then an 8, and then you're saying, okay, well, 6 will be next.
Right.
And you usually get 3 or 4, and then you don't get it.
Yes, exactly. So. Okay, so once I'm done explaining, we'll talk about how frequently this actually hits. So what you do is you start out with a $5 place bet on the 4. So you're betting right away, all your money is on the 4. So 4 has to hit first.
Okay.
And if the 4 hits, it pays $9. So now you've got $14, right? Your original $5 bet and $9.
Okay.
You give the dealer $1 and you make a $15 bet on the 5. If the 5 hits, that pays $21.
Okay.
Okay. You combined all your money there, you have a total of $36, which you bet on the 6. And that is a correct amount to bet, right? It's a multiple of 6.
Right.
So you bet on the 6. If the 6 hits, that pays $42. Now your combined money is $78, which is also still divisible by 6. So you put all 78 on the 8. If the 8 hits, it pays $91. So now you've got a total of $169 that you're going to bet on the 9. But you want it to be a multiple of 5, so you give the dealer another $1. So you've invested a total of $7 of your own money. Right.
Yep. Okay.
And now you're betting $170 on the 9. If the 9 hits, that pays $238. Kind of a strange amount, but, You've got 170 on the 9. It pays 238. So now you've got a total of $408. And you bet all of that on the 10. Well, you bet 400 on the 10. And either you pocket $8 or maybe you have to pay $20 in VIG. It'll depend on the rules at the casino.
Right, at the casino, sure.
But basically, you're making a $400 10 bet, a buy bet on the 10. And if that hits, you'll have $800 plus the $400 that you bet, again, minus some kind of VIG, but essentially $1,200. So your $7 investment has turned into $1,200. So it's like a side bet that you've made where you gave, hey, yeah, here's $7. And if it hits, it'll pay $1,200. So it's nice. your own way of doing it. And the nice thing, too, is that if you wanted to stop, like, you got to the 8 and you're thinking, well, this is crazy. I don't want to keep going on this. You could stop at any time. Right? Whereas with a side bet, it would just stay out there. You'd be rooting for it. But it's kind of interesting because it's just a side bet that you can manually do on your own. So,
well, you wouldn't want to stop. You'd never want to stop because then you wouldn't see it through. I mean, the whole reason is to turn 7 into 1,200.
Right. Yes, exactly.
So you got to see it through. But the real question, Mark, the $1,200 question is, are you going to do this at any point?
Oh, gosh. I might do it once or twice, but that's about it. I ran a simulation on this. I didn't try to actually go through the math. Instead, I just ran a long simulation. And I came up with it happening about once in every 270 shooters. Yeah, so, not too often.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
What if you did this and like you juxtapose like 5 and 9 or 6 and 8?
Well, sure. You can do it however you want.
Like start on 4 and then go to 6 and you just make it like an $18 6.
Yeah.
So you have to add a little more money, but.
Or I'm thinking maybe just go straight to the 10. Get the hard ones out of the way first. 4, 10, 5, 9, 6, 8, something like that. I don't know. You could mix it. The whole point of this is, hey, look how you can kind of create your own side bet without actually having to make it. Because think of the repeater bet, Mike. The repeater bet, at least for the box numbers, let's say you wanted to do a repeater 5. And those familiar with the repeater bet is the 5 will win if it hits 5 times before a 7. Well, start off with $5 and then just press it every time and then take it down when it hits that 5th time. I mean, you've basically done the same thing as a repeater, right?
Yeah, you can't press your repeater bets if once they've hit once.
No.
You're saying move it to another number?
No. What I'm saying is if you wanted to mimic the repeater bet manually on a table where they don't even have a repeater bet, just make a $5 place bet on the 5 and press it every time or parlay it every time.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then if the fifth time it happens, take it down. You've basically mimicked the repeater bet.
Right.
So,
okay, I see what you're saying.
If you're creative, if you kind of use your imagination, you can kind of come up with these, bets, something like this marching soldier bet.
Right. Now, where do you think I would use this in my betting strategy? Because I can tell you, as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly when I would use this.
When you'd use this? I don't know.
Yes. For a dealer tip.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Just put $5 on a 4.
Oh, yeah.
And then, just pump it up every time. They would more than happily let it go all the way. And, if I'm only in for $7, that'd be no big deal. And you could even do it at Harris Rincon because they don't take a big on the 4 and 10 for the dealers.
Oh, when you make a bet for the dealers, that's right. They get free buy bets. Yeah.
They get free buy bets there.
That's really good thinking, Mike, too. Plus, when you make a bet for the dealer, it doesn't have to be the table minimum. So, you could throw $1 out there if you want to start with just $1.
Oh, sure. You could throw $1 on the 4 and then, move it to the 5 or 6 or whatever. Yeah, sure.
Not a bad idea. And then maybe leave it to them. It's like, okay, do you want to move to the 8 or do you want to take it down? Right. Every time, ask them.
They would always move it.
That's a great idea. Okay. All right, good.
Yeah, see, that'd be a good way to tip the dealers. And if you got lucky, if it was one of those, 1 out of 200 and something, and they got a $1,200 bet, they'd be stoked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. That's something to keep in mind.
And you didn't invest that much.
Right. You didn't invest.
Cheaper.
That's the key.
That's cheaper than putting $5 or $6 on every number across.
Yeah.
And, doing that.
Okay. Good thinking. You going to do it next time?
I might.
All right.
I probably will.
Okay.
I probably will.
Some of the dealers listen to the show, so I think now they're going to be expecting it.
Yeah, well, at least do it once,
Good. Okay, good. Anyway, again, I wanted to bring it up just because I think this is an interesting kind of betting pattern and to kind of put it out there. Hey, you can kind of create your own side bets. Although, one problem is like a side bet, we're talking about the repeater bet. You could be at like a $50 table and make a $5 repeater bet. Right? Whereas if you wanted to mimic the repeater bet the way that I described, you'd have to start with $50, right? So that's one nice thing about real side bets. But now, you can come up with something.
Yeah, this example you gave would only work for me if I was doing it for myself on a $5 table.
I'll tell you, you know what? I'll tell you, Mike, you actually do your own side bets. I've heard it many times where you'll go all the way across or inside numbers or something, and you'll turn to me and you say, I'm going to press the first 3 numbers that hit no matter what they are. So if it's 3 6s in a row, you press it all the way up. If it's 5, 6, 8, only those get pressed. So you do it too.
I do it all the time. It's so funny because it'll be, okay, Mark, I'm going to press the next 3 no matter what they are. And the first one will be 6. Yeah. And then the second one will be 6. And I'll press again and I'll look at you and I'll like, oh, God, it's going to be another 6. Because I'm hoping it's 3 separate numbers.
Right.
So I don't have to get like a ton of money on one number.
Yep. And then 8 will hit and you'll press that and then 7 out.
Right. Exactly.
It burns you so.
That's exactly the scenario. I usually do that when I'm frustrated. I'm like, oh God. And I just think, okay, I'm just going to press them up big and hope to get a big roll. This is going to be a big roll. I'm willing it. I'm like using my Jedi mind tricks to will a big roll.
And sometimes you'll just kind of whisper it to me. Other times you'll announce it to the whole table. I'm pressing the first 3. Then everything.
Well, I learned my lesson just to whisper it to you. If I don't do it, I don't feel so bad if you mock me. But the whole table's expecting it. I was like, oh God, now I gotta do it.
Yep. Anyway, thanks for the link, Chris, and thanks to Let It Roll on YouTube for this interesting marching soldier bet. Hey, we got an email from listener David. I'm just going to read this here. On my last trip to Reno, I ended up playing solo on a blackjack table. After 15 minutes or so, a gentleman sat down to my left. We went through a couple losing rounds, so I decided to sit out a round to stretch my funds a bit. When I decided to play again, the dealer said she would let it slide this time, but in the future I cannot sit out hands as it will change what cards will come out. I had never heard that before and am sure I've done that multiple times in Vegas. Have you heard of this as a rule, or did I just get a grouchy dealer? I was consistently using a 1-2-1-4 strategy and had the little card for playing basic strategy, so I'm pretty sure it didn't look like I was counting. So, okay, your specific situation where a dealer says you can't do that because it changes the cards or it changes how the cards will be distributed. That's basically, what she's saying. No, I've never heard that, and that's not a good reason to not let you sit out hands.
Right. Well, that'd be like somebody stays on soft 17 against, like a 8 or something.
Or anything. And, you should never stand on any soft 17, but yeah, go ahead.
And then the dealer says, no, you can't do that. It'll change the cards that come out.
Right.
You got to hit, I mean, that just doesn't even make sense, right?
Now, there are cases where they will not let you play when you've sat out a couple of hands, and let's talk about that for a bit.
Well, they won't let you re-enter a shoe.
Yes, right, and that is particularly in the Atlantic City, and I'll tell you a story of what happened when we were out there last time. So the idea is they don't want people entering a game in the middle of a shoe because they're worried about card counters just sitting back and watching the cards that come out and waiting for a high count and then jumping into the game. So they're worried that, that's all that counters are doing. They're just waiting until the deck is really good, the shoe is really good, and then coming in the middle. So the way they counter card counters is to not allow them to come in the middle of the shoe. Along the same lines, if you're in Atlantic City, and there are other places that do this too, it's the middle of a shoe and you sit out a hand, they will make you sit out the whole rest of the shoe and you can't start playing again till the next shuffle. And, it's kind of, I understand why, that it's still kind of the same concept. But gosh, we were out there for Gamblepalooza. And, we were obviously all recreational gamblers. And, somebody would get up, maybe have to go to the bathroom. They'd come back and they wouldn't be able to play until the shoe was over. So that's a legitimate, quote unquote, reason for them to not let you do it. But no, what you were told at Reno, yeah, that's silly.
Even if you set out a hand or two in the middle of the shoe and then want to get back in, me personally, unless there's obvious other signs you're counting, like, varying your bet, all of a sudden you're betting $5 every hand, then all of a sudden you're betting 40 or something. Mm-hmm. Things like that are tip-offs. And if a pit or a dealer saw that like several times, not just once, but several times, then they might be leery, and I can understand that. But when you're obviously not counting, then they're just losing money is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No kidding. We've said this before. In general, casinos worry too much about card counters. They're not losing as much to card counters as they think because a lot of card counters aren't very good. Now, obviously, they do have to watch out for advantage players. I understand that. But yeah, sometimes they go overboard.
Yeah, it's the case of being, so much cautious that you may hurt your actual self as opposed to just keeping an eye out for stuff.
Yeah, I think as a general statement, they're probably losing money with policies like this. Now, if this really is a policy at this Reno casino where because it's going to change how the cards are distributed, well, that's just crazy. That's an example of a casino that's crazy.
Well, to me, this sounded more like a dealer who maybe their policy was no mid-shoe entry.
Yeah.
And if you set out a couple hands, you can't enter. But she didn't really, or he didn't really know why.
Or didn't want to reveal why.
Or didn't want to reveal why. That could be too. That could be too.
Yeah.
But it's also probably they just didn't understand why. They just know that's the policy and they just assume it's, for some weird reason, like you're going to change the cards.
Yeah.
If I want to change the cards, there's plenty of opportunity to do that, right?
Sure. Play two hands, deviate from basic strategy. Right. Yeah.
Right, deviate from basic
hit a hard 19. There's a lot of things you can do.
Stay on 16.
Yeah. Double down with the blackjack.
Right. It happens all the time. Split 10s. You see people, they got a 20 and they split because the dealer's got a 6.
Really.
It happens all the time.
That changes the distribution of the cards as much as somebody sitting out a hand.
Right. Well, one card changes the distribution.
That's right. Why are we even discussing this further? Okay. It's silly.
Yeah, that was a weird reason.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move on to some voicemails. First up is Jana.
Hey, Dr. Mike and Mark, this is Jana in Houston. How are you guys doing? Dr. Mike, I hope you're feeling better. I had to call you guys because I just got through listening to your last podcast, and I am so excited for March the 14th. So I am certainly going to be in there. I am so excited about that. But I also had to call because of y'all's naked story, talking about the naked woman that shut down the casino. Several years ago, we had gone to Vegas with my husband's cousin and his wife and another couple, and we were staying at the Tropicana. And I don't know what time it was. It had to be really early because I'm a super early riser. I had gone out. I had shut the door and started walking down the hall, and I heard another door behind me shut. And I looked up, just kind of glanced back, and here is this young, buck-naked guy running down the hall. He passes me. And the only place you can go is either the elevators or the stairs. And he hit the elevators before I could get to it. And he stood there like, well, are you going to get in? And I was just, like deer in the headlights. And I was like, no, I think I'll take the stairs. Thank you. And I just turned and ran down the stairs. And I have no idea where he went. Don't know what was going on. But that is the only time I've ever seen any naked stories in Vegas, and I was the only one that saw it. So when I came back and told everybody about it, they thought, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. But apparently he had caught a couple other people in the hallways because there was talk about it down on the casino floor. So anyway, I just wanted to call and share that with you and tell you how excited I am. And just one quick thing, I want you to know that I took your advice and I started listening to Vinny Tins. Those two guys are the funniest people I have ever met in my entire life, and I have listened and listened and listened, and I'm so excited that he's fixing to be a daddy. Anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that I took your advice and started listening to them, and they are the two funniest people besides y'all, I have to say. I hope to see you guys at the tables on March the 14th. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Vinny and Big Joe at the 7 Out podcast are hilarious. They give so much grief to each other. You know, it's just constant back and forth, all this abuse. They're obviously really good friends, but yeah, great show. And yeah, Vinny probably now is a daddy. He is kind of off the grid. I haven't seen anything on Twitter. I can certainly understand that. You know, when you have a newborn, it's a lot of work and not much sleep. So, Vinny, if you did, in fact, already have your daughter, congratulations to you and your wife.
I was laughing so much about her seeing the naked man because her friends are probably all thinking, right, Jana, naked guy in the elevator. Sure. Well, how late were you up and what were you drinking all night?
You know, now Jana, probably rightfully so, did not get on the elevator with him. Let me ask you this, Dr. Mike.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen nudity while on an elevator?
Well, not full nudity.
I see. Please explain.
I mean, you know, we've plenty of times been on with somebody who's heading down to the pool or something and hardly wearing anything.
Okay. So a revealing swimsuit, that kind. So not, real. Okay, sure.
But not completely nude. Mark, I got to say, if there was like probably the prettiest girl I've ever seen.
Oh, boy.
Completely nude in an elevator, I wouldn't get in.
Sure. Something's up, Dr. Mike.
Yeah, that would be so uncomfortable. No, I would not. I would probably wait for the door to close and then roll around on the ground laughing for about 5 minutes. I mean,
yeah, maybe.
I'd love to see that, actually. That would be the funniest thing I've ever seen. But no, I mean, that's going a little too far, I guess.
All right. Okay.
Running through the casino without your top on? Nah, that happens.
Sure. I've been with you when that has happened. So yeah, I can attest
I understand
to that. Yeah. So yeah, Jana mentioned the poker tournament that we talked about on the last episode. So we have created the tournament. What we didn't realize was that you cannot register for the tournament until 2 weeks before the tournament. So 2 weeks before the tournament is going to be this Sunday, February 28th. So supposedly noon Eastern on Sunday, February 28th, you can start actually registering for the tournament, which you should already see if you're in our Poker Home Games group. You should see it down there in upcoming tournaments. So as a reminder, anybody who's not already in our home game group, send us your PokerStars username in an email and we'll invite you to the group.
And you've had a lot of those already, right?
Oh, yeah. We've gotten a lot. I think the group now is up over 200. And so there's certainly, we have a big player pool. So that's great. Again, you can sign up this Sunday. The actual tournament, as a reminder, is Sunday, March 14th. That is Selection Sunday for March Madness. It's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And reminder again, it's the first day of daylight saving time. So be sure to change your clocks or you'll end up being late for the tournament. You won't be able to get in. Our prize pool is going to be the same as it was last time. $100 Amazon gift card for first place, $50 for second place, $25 for third place, and a $25 gift card each for eliminating Dr. Mike and me from the tournament. Also, Tim Lawson from The Better Life says that he will be playing, and there's going to be a bounty on his head as well. He's going to give a $25 gift card to whoever takes him out. I think he's also talked about maybe some T-shirts to give away. And on his last episode, he says he's not a very good poker player. And then also, Adam, travel fanboy. Oh, Adam wants me to refer to him as Sir TFB for some reason. It's like he's royalty or something, yeah. Anyway, he is offering a $50 Amazon gift card for anyone who makes a royal flush during the game. So, little added incentive to stay in if you've got suited Broadway cards, which you're probably staying in with anyway. And also a caveat there, you have to be using one of your hole cards to make the royal flush. So, and in other words,
you can't be on the board.
Yeah, if the royal flush is on the board, that doesn't mean that you get the prize from Adam, because then, everybody makes the royal flush. So you have to be using at least one of the cards in your hand.
I imagine Adam was just filling that void left in the royal family.
Maybe that could be it. And then the whole royal flush thing. And that's his angle.
He's just filling the void. I mean, as soon as that void came up, the Queen probably contacted Adam and said, look, being the influencer you are in America, let's fill this void.
Okay, maybe that's it. But I mean, should we support that? Should we support that though?
Well, sure.
All right.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, we have to. I mean, Mark, he's royalty.
Sir TFB. He unfortunately cannot actually participate in the tournament. So he sends his apologies. But then again, all right, $50 up there if you make a royal flush. You take back everything you just said?
I take back everything I said. I mean, what could be more important?
All right. So a reminder, it's kind of a two-step process. Once you've sent us your user ID, we'll send you an invite. You've got to join the home game group, and then you've got to register for the tournament. You got to do both things. Anything else I'm forgetting about the poker tournament, Mike? We're actually going to have one more episode beforehand, but.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, no, I think you covered it all. So we wanted just to give everyone plenty of time to do all the logistics and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can, have everyone minus Adam playing.
Right, exactly. Yep. All right, let's get back to our voicemails. Next up, the Red Eye Gamblers have a report on craps conditions in New Orleans and Biloxi.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's the Red Eye Gamblers from the 99% Craps podcast. I wanted to give you a call in for a trip report on our trip to New Orleans and Biloxi this past week. I had a great time and ended up hitting 13 casinos total. So wanted to tell you about New Orleans. We stopped at the Treasure Chest, which is actually outside of New Orleans in Kenner, Louisiana. We hit the boat, and they actually only had 2 craps tables, both at $15 minimums, but they did not open until 4 p.m., so we weren't even able to play because we got there early. But we did stay at the Harrah's, which was on Canal Street near the French Quarter. Great casino. Everybody knows the Harrah's name, Caesar's property. Very large casino. However, with them canceling Mardi Gras, all the parades and stuff, the place was dead. It was a literal ghost town. They had 9 tables there, but only 2 were working. In the evening, 1 was working during the day. Of those 9 tables, 2 of them are crapless. They had $25 minimums, and they did have a roll-to-win table with a $15 minimum that was working, but not in the morning. So we hit those 2 casinos in New Orleans, and then we went to Biloxi over in Mississippi, which is only about an hour and a half apart. So we went over, the first stop was at the Scarlet Pearl. They have 2 craps tables with $15 minimums, and then also 1 roll-to-win table. They didn't have it working when we were there, but we were there on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, so maybe on the weekends they'll have it working. The next casino we hit was the IP, which is a Boyd property. They have 6 tables. They only had 1 working at the time. We went there during the day, but they had a $10 minimum there, and the rest of their tables were $15 minimum. The next casino, which was next door to IP, was Boomtown. They just had 1 table, which had a $15 minimum, but then they also had a roll-to-win with only a $5 minimum. They had 8 seats working at that roll-to-win. After Boomtown, we hit the Palace. The Palace is the only non-smoking casino in Biloxi, so we really actually enjoyed that quite a bit. They had 2 tables with a $10 minimum. The interesting thing there is you had to have a $200 buy-in. We stayed at the Harrah's Gulf Coast. They had 1 regular table, 1 crapless table, and 1 8-foot tub. All of those tables were $10 during the day and $15 at night. They only had 1 table going at one time. The 8-foot tub was running in the morning. The crapless table was running at night. After Harrah's, we went over to the Golden Nugget. They've got 3 tables. They're all $15 minimum. Then after that, we went to the Hard Rock. They have 6 tables. Only 1 was working, and they're $15 minimums. The Beau Rivage is probably the nicest casino out there. We call it the mini Bellagio. They have 6 tables total. They had 2 tables running during the day at $10. In the evening when we went, they were $15, and they had 3 tables going. Then on the outskirts of Biloxi was Treasure Bay, a very small casino. They had one table working. It was usually a $5 table, but now it's a $15 table. And then from there, keep going out further west, and there's the Island View Casino. Looks like it's a pretty new casino. It's got a lot of glass. You can see the water. They only had one table, and it was a $15 minimum. And then we also hit our local casino of Le Bears in Lake Charles. So overall on our trip, we hit 13 casinos. We went 1,000 miles and came back with the bankrolls we left. We didn't win, but we didn't lose. So that was probably the best part, too.
And Shotgun appreciates the well wishes. I am feeling really good, and this was a great trip, but I am tired, and it's time for a nap.
Yeah, actually, we felt very safe COVID-wise. Everybody was adhering to masks and social distancing in Biloxi. New Orleans, we didn't have to worry about it because there was nobody there. So with a nice, safe trip, we'd say definitely Monday through Wednesday, you can be safe out there. So thanks again. Love what you do. Looking forward to the poker tournament. Talk to you guys later. Cheers. Adios.
Yeah, good. Looking forward to playing with you on March 14th.
That sounds like an awesome trip.
I know, just going from casino to casino.
Oh, my God.
Well, I'll tell you,
it's
Mike.
Like our dream. He's going over it, and he's about halfway through, and I'm thinking, this is our dream.
Yeah. And for sure, New Orleans / Biloxi is the highest entry on our list of places we haven't been, gambling places where we haven't been yet. And, again, we were hoping to go last year and then COVID hit. But, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. Start in New Orleans and just, work your way over to Biloxi.
Yeah, it's funny. He mentioned about how Harrah's New Orleans was dead. And I was just thinking about it. No kidding. Yesterday, I was thinking to myself, I wonder when this all ends. I was thinking about Mardi Gras, actually. But I wonder when this ends, if like the next Mardi Gras is just going to be like unbelievably large.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone's, we haven't gone. And I was thinking Comic-Con too.
Oh, I know.
Like
yeah.
The next Comic-Con, I mean, they may not have it this year in July.
They may not. I know. I'm
and
psyching
if they
myself
don't,
up.
Can you imagine what the next one will be like? Like 2 years without Comic-Con? It'll be like, it's already crazy as it is.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not like there are more tickets. I mean, they only sell a certain number of tickets.
Right, but there'll probably be people who come just to stand outside.
Well, sure, yeah.
It's going to be one of those things, and every event will be full. Like you'll want to go to a football game, and it'll be packed, right?
Do you think that'll be hard? Do you think it'll
be hard to get tickets to see the Detroit Lions?
Oh gosh! Do you think though? Let's say everybody gets a vaccine, something like that,
right?
And next Mardi Gras, the gates are open. Nobody's saying stay home or shelter or wear a mask or anything.
Well,
do you think it will be bigger? Do you think it'll be the same? Do you think not as many people will still be a little worried?
No, I think it'll be more. I think people are to the point now. I can't tell you how many patients come in and say, this is a big day for me because I get to
just getting out.
They're going to the dentist and they get to go somewhere and they get to talk to somebody they haven't talked to in a while. And people are going to be so eager to go places. Yeah. And I think casinos are going to be swamped. As a matter of fact, I was thinking you may not even see the table limits go down. They may have, instead of 2 tables out of 6 open, they may have all 6 open and they may all be full.
Yeah, we've talked about that being a possibility, sure.
I mean, it'll be that rebound effect. Now, that'll last for a little while, and then people will slowly get back into their mode of, I take 2 vacations a year, or I do this, or whatever their special thing is. But I think at first it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, as soon as we get to the point where you can go to Mardi Gras and there's no mask.
Yeah. Well, not the mask that you have to.
Right. Bad example.
Yeah, that's right. Who are you supposed to be? A COVID patient.
Maybe a better example would be a casino where you can just walk in.
Yeah. Or sporting events or
sporting events. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. They were talking about how at the Palace, there was a $200 buy-in required at the craps table. Have you ever heard of a minimum buy-in at a casino game? Sure, they have them at poker tables, but at a casino game?
It's funny. I want to say I did hear that once somewhere else where there was a minimum.
Okay.
But I can't say that for certain. But it seems in the back of my head like I have heard that before. Now, I have mixed feelings on that because my least favorite thing is when somebody comes up. We're on a $50 craps table. Somebody comes up and buys in for $100.
Yeah.
And then, makes one bet, then maybe wins, then makes a couple more bets and then leaves. It's just, why are you coming to that table?
Well,
that always kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I don't believe in rules like that.
Yeah.
So, I would never, if I owned a casino, I would never have a minimum buy-in. If you want to buy in for one $25 chip and bet it and then leave, that's up to you. But it does disturb me.
I think in the example that you gave, though, a lot of times people don't look at the table minimum, and then maybe they're embarrassed to admit it.
They get their money, and the guy says it's $50, and they're embarrassed, and it's like, well, that's what I meant.
And then they play it, and I kind of feel sorry for them because a lot of times they lose, right? They just don't have a bankroll to play the $50 table, and maybe they'll get lucky with a few bets, but eventually, they get wiped out and leave. I don't like a policy like this only because it takes advantage of people who maybe don't have the discipline. If you only wanted to play with $100 and you had a lot of discipline and, you bought in for $200, immediately pocketed $100 of that in chips and stuck to it, that's fine. But, the problem is when you see the chips in front of you, they're available to bet. They don't really look like money. And again, I know it's not the casino's responsibility to monitor what adults do with their entertainment dollars, but I think it's a little crummy.
It's a little crummy. Yeah, I agree. But like I said, I'm one of those, I don't believe in rules against limiting people. I know there are people with problems, but I just hate to make it a rule, right?
Yeah.
It'd be better just to make a rule that, if you're buying in at $200 on a $50 tables, you need help.
That's right. You just give them the Gambler's Anonymous card, right? Here you go.
Or no, we're just automatically going to put you in a class about gambling.
Oh, okay. I see. Teach you the math and the...
Teach you the math, right?
All right. Next call.
Hey, guys. This is Eric from Tennessee. I just want to give you a trip report for the Valentine's weekend. Me and my wife, we went to Tunica, Mississippi, stayed at the Horseshoe, played at the Horseshoe and the Gold Strike. Had a really good time, good crowds, very clean, felt safe. Saturday night it kind of got busier. Really busy. I don't know what their laws are on capacity, but I would say it was getting pretty close to a normal Saturday night. Of course, I had not been there in about 10 years. Gold Strike is M Life and Horseshoe is Caesars, which is, you can walk. It's less than probably 50 yards in between the both. I had a really good crap session at both locations. I usually buy in for around 500, walked away at MGM on Friday evening, close up about 850. Then Saturday evening before we ate at Jack Binion's, which I could highly recommend Jack Binion's Steakhouse at the Horseshoe. Excellent service, excellent meal, probably as good as I've had at any casino lately. And everything seemed clean, well sanitized. They are making you take a hand sanitizer. After you give them the money, they give you the chips. Then they ask you to sanitize your hands. Every time I got chips. So that was a little bit, I don't know. I don't really enjoy a lot of the hand sanitizer, especially when I'm getting ready to shoot craps. But anyway, I had a really good time. Do have a trip planned next month to Vegas. Seems like Vegas is healing. I'm actually optimistic that we're going to have a good time. Very cheap. So, Mark, I would like to put a shout out to all the stuff you've been putting on YouTube, the stuff with Tim. I think I caught you on Same Bet Dave from Same Bet's channel. The cross between pods and YouTube is really coming together. I do both of them. Very interesting to see faces and put them when you just listen to pods a lot. Then you start seeing people on YouTube. Very interesting content. Tim Lawson does a great job. I want to give another shout out to a couple, the guys from Do For Win on their pod. Great one. 7 Out. Vinny does a great job. Big Joe. I think he's crossed over and done some stuff on your all show.
You got cut off there. Yeah, it's been kind of fun. Been doing some video streaming lately. Like Eric said, I was on the Same Bet channel, YouTube channel with Dave. And yeah, Tim Lawson, he's been doing a lot of stuff on Twitch. So I think when I'm a guest on his show, pretty much we're going to be doing the video streaming. It's kind of nice because you can, get some feedback from listeners right there and answer questions, things like that. So thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing how many good podcasts there are now. Gambling podcasts.
Yeah, I know the community. It's great.
There are so many good ones, which is nice because, 10 years ago, there wasn't, right?
No, there
weren't as many.
Not as many. Gambling with an Edge, that was about it. Strictly gambling. There were Vegas podcasts. Right. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So yeah, it's growing. It's great.
It's nice to see, and they're all interesting. So it makes me feel good that there's more interest in it. So fun. I can retire at some point, Mark.
And what? Just listen to podcasts the whole time? Is that what you're saying?
Just listen to podcasts and gamble. Yeah. I'm going to be that old man at the table that has some, earplugs in his ear and listening to some podcast and talking to himself.
You're going to be that old man. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm going to be that old man. Uh-huh. I'm just getting a start. Okay. That's another thing I was thinking about the other day. Maybe I do want to live as old as my dad just so I can do all those things to annoy you.
So now what position does that put me in? Do I want to live that long now? Do I want to have to put up with that?
You have to live that long just to put up with it.
Okay. That's fair, I guess. That's fair. All right. Next up is Neil.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Neil from Riverside. I went out to the newly redone Cahuilla Casino here in Anza, just north of you guys, to get my $1 chip that I like to collect from all the places and just see what the place is all about. Modest place for sure, about 5 tables and a bunch of slot machines. Really cool to find a $5 minimum, 3-2 blackjack. You could only split aces once. And it was an automatic shuffler. I know that's important for some people. It was kind of just refreshing on a Sunday night, which is a holiday weekend, to find a $5 table. Funny enough, whenever their tables are open, the tables aren't open 24 hours a day. They always have what they call Cahuilla 21, and it's a $3 minimum table, but like you probably guessed, really bad rules. Blackjacks pay 1-to-1, so I avoided that like the plague. Something really interesting that I think you guys have had a talking point on before was there was no craps table and there was no shoot to win or roll to win, but they had a standalone table game, multi-game slot machine that you could play craps on, and it was a $1 minimum. And so as a talking point, I don't know, what do you guys think about that? Totally automated. I know in Vegas it's, why would they ever fudge with a machine and risk their gambling license? But I don't know if those same standards hold true to a Native American gambling establishment. So, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, so the machine you saw, Neil, might have been one that we talked about on a recent episode. They're called Casino Wizard table games machines. And you can play craps, roulette, blackjack, a lot of different games on it. And of course, the craps, it's electronic dice, it's virtual dice. I think they're on the up and up. I don't think they would be cheating you in any way. And it's not so much the casino that wouldn't be cheating. It's that the manufacturer of the machine, they wouldn't put something in there that would allow the casino to set it or to cheat in any way, because they're worried about their business model, right? They don't want, if that something like that got out, well, then they'd be out of business. And, what do? Do they tell the casino, okay, here's this secret thing, but don't tell anybody? Well, those kind of secrets don't stay secret very long. So I'd be comfortable playing these machines, sure.
I agree. Yeah, I think there's way more risk in cheating than there is in just running a legitimate game that you're going to win at anyway.
That's right. As long as the random number generator, the random dice generator, whatever you want to call it, is pretty good. Again, there's no such thing as completely random in computers, but they have some pseudo-random number generators that are pretty good. As long as you're getting random rolls of the dice, the casino's going to win in the long run anyway, because that's built into the rules of the game.
Yeah, I think maybe they should just have a bubble in the middle of those games.
With some real dice?
Yeah, with me sitting on a chair underneath the table.
I got you.
Just my head sticking up in the bubble, and I roll the dice every time. That way you're sure it's completely legit.
So your head is sticking up. So how do you actually roll the dice? Are the dice going around your head? Are they hitting your head?
There's 3 holes in this bubble, Mark. My head's in one, and both my arms are in the other.
Okay, yes.
And then I just roll the dice around this dome, and they clackle around, they bounce off me, and then they land.
Okay, so how much of your arm is coming through the holes? Is it, are your elbows actually up in the bubble, or is it, kind of shorter than that?
No, I think it's about halfway between my wrist and my elbow. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So you don't have a lot of mobility there, but you're able to kind of
But I do have some.
I assume the dice are big and you're able to kind of toss them around. Okay. Good.
Yeah. They're actually just furry dice, like the sign. You see hanging in a car.
Yeah.
I have 2 of those in my car.
Yeah.
I still have them in there.
Yeah.
We used to roll them against the dashboard as we're driving.
That's right. Going up to Vegas. Okay, here's the next roll. It's another 11.
On the dashboard.
Are these true dice? Yes. All right. Well, I'm glad we spent a good minute or so talking about that. All right. Next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. Brandon here from Colorado. Just wanted to give a trip update. My wife and I went to Vegas for a couple days while I'm on a little bit of a hiatus from work. I'm in a training program right now, so I had a little bit of a break. We went out there, stayed at the Bellagio. I got to tell you, if it wasn't for the masks and the plexiglass, you would have thought it was normal Vegas with how crowded it was. Having been there last year with everybody being, a little bit on edge and skittish and tiptoey, it definitely wasn't like that this time. I mean, people are there to have a good time, and I really think we're turning the corner on this COVID stuff in terms of public perception. At least that was my feeling. Before I get to the gambling, just want to mention, Mark, I'm with you. I never ate ramen in college. I actually don't understand the whole you have to eat ramen in college, because I had a dining plan when I was in school. So I got a bunch of meals at the cafeteria. So now I eat ramen because a 25-cent lunch allows me to do more gambling. But anyway, I digress. And as for the gambling, I pretty much stuck to craps the whole time. Spent a lot of time at bouncy craps, or as everybody calls it, shoot to win. But I think I told you guys my wife refers to it as bouncy craps, and that's what's stuck in our family. Won a few $100 on that, so that was a really good feeling. And then as for live craps, it was really up and down, but just a great time to be throwing the dice. One thing of note that was really fun, I had a 2-way hard 6 bet, and it hit, and the dealers asked me, do you want to press it? Do you want to let it ride? And I said, yeah, just let it ride. Very next roll was another hard 6. So that's the first time that's ever happened, and that was a pretty cool feeling. That same shooter was 1 away from the make 'em all. He hit the all tall with a 9, and then just needed the 3 for the make 'em all, but unfortunately just came up short. That was really cool and really fun to be a part of. So anyway, I can't wait to get back to Vegas, give you guys another trip report. Hope you guys are doing well. Sounds like you are. Keep staying safe, and we'll chat with you guys later. Take care.
Good. All right. Well, thanks, Brandon. It sounds like maybe Vegas coming back a little bit, maybe getting a little bit back to normal. Yeah. And
I think it won't be too long.
And then as far as the ramen goes, I did have a meal plan too. Now I realize not every college student has a meal plan, but it's probably why I didn't eat a lot of ramen. At least the first couple of years I was in college. Yeah, I lived in the dorm, so I just went to the cafeteria.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think if you lived in the dorms and had a meal plan, I lived off campus by myself.
Yeah, right.
So I had to go to the market. I had to prepare my own food. So, ramen was quick, easy. I have to admit, a lot of it was probably just because ramen was easy to make.
Yeah, it's not just the cost. It's easy to make.
And that's why a lot of people lived off mac and cheese or cup of soup.
Yeah, right.
Those kind of things, right?
Yeah. Well, Brandon makes a good point. You only spend 25 cents for lunch. You got a lot more money to gamble with.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do what you have to do, right?
Right.
To get your gambling stash up there.
Yeah, well said, Dr. Mike.
So I siphoned some gas out of my neighborhood, out of the cars down the street.
You do what you got to do. Yeah.
You do what you got to do.
All right. Next up is Julia.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Julia from Washington State with a teeny tiny casino report. After having to cancel 3+ trips to Vegas, which is usually the only place I gamble, a few weeks ago, I decided to try one of our open local tribal casinos, the Snoqualmie, and it felt pretty safe. Every staffer was masked. They had a temperature check on the way in. Masks required except for drinking and, unfortunately, smoking, so that was a little weird. But it felt okay. They had one craps table going when I was there, $5 minimum, which is my preference. And on that first trip, I had a nice session. My second one, I still won a little bit, but not quite so much. The dealers were all very nice, very sharp, and I stopped in again today, and the player next to me was making Dr. Mike-style bets, not quite in the same amounts, but she was all over the table. And at one point, she laid 1,000 on the 10, and they started passing her purple chips after she won that bet. And I have never seen that before. She actually gave me a tip on one of my rolls when I'd made her some good money. But again, it was pretty good. I can't last more than about an hour, but it felt like a little tiny escape, which I really need in this pandemic. Hope you guys are well. Love the podcast as always, and hope to see you sometime in Vegas.
And Julia actually had a follow-up call here, so let's listen to that.
Hey guys, it's Julia from Washington State. I forgot to add that here in Washington State, our video poker is just pretend. It's like the equivalent of a pull tab. If you get a royal flush and you throw it away, the machine will give you another royal flush or equivalent. And that's really the only game that I like to play other than craps. So I didn't really look around at the other table games. They had a great selection of slot machines, it seems, not quite as good as Vegas, but some of the newer ones. But I don't think the payouts are quite as good, but seems like a lot of people were having fun on them. Anyway, thanks, guys.
And Julia also followed up with an email. She said that at Snoqualmie, the craps tables do have plexiglass between players, but that they are in a no smoking area. So you don't have people with their masks down smoking, which she liked. So there you go. I'm glad Julia brought up these video poker machines because what they really are like video poker lottery machines. The cards are not dealt to you randomly. It's predetermined. And like she said, if you're dealt a royal flush and you try to get rid of all your cards, it will re-deal you the royal flush. These machines are deceptive because they have a pay table on them, and you could say, wow, that's the best pay table I've ever seen for jacks or better. But they should also have a label on the machine somewhere that says something to the effect that player decision has no bearing on results of the hands, something like that. So, when you're discarding cards, it doesn't matter. The machine has already decided whether you're going to win or lose. And typically, the house edge is much higher than a real Class 3 video poker machine.
Right, because there's a built-in profit that they're looking at, right? A short-term profit, not like where a casino would maybe pay out 96% over some indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
Whereas these, I think, are a fixed amount of time. Like this month, we're going to,
it could be.
Pay out only 90%.
They're all hooked up to this central processor that determines, exactly how much is going to go out. So in a sense, the casino is guaranteed to win. Nobody's going to go on a hot streak.
Right. They know every month what their win's going to be. Whereas in like a Vegas casino or something, they might have a bad night where they lost a lot. And then the next night they might win a lot, but they're looking at a long-term positive payout for them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring PayPal donations. Nathan, Brian Dancer, Brian and Sarah, and Josh. Thank you very much for those recurring donations. We also got a donation from Nathan R. He said, I added an extra 10 cents to this donation. The extra 10 cents is for Mark. Your first top ramen is on me. After that, Dr. Mike can decide to use the rest to support the show, to bet a hard 6 or 8, or to buy a whole case of top ramen to support Mark's new habit. Dr. Mike, I am counting on you to make the right decision. Cheers, Nathan R. from West Palm Beach, Florida. So I guess you've got some decisions to make, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing, Nathan. If you eat top ramen, use the flavor packet. I get so mad at people who do not use the flavor packet. They just eat it plain. That flavor packet has so much salt. I mean, it'll keep you going for days.
Okay, good.
Got to use the flavor packet.
We also got a donation from Christian. Karma donation for my trip to Tahoe this weekend to get married to my girlfriend of 8 years. Couldn't be happier. Thanks for all you guys do. Hey, congratulations, Christian.
Congratulations.
To you and your new wife. And finally, a donation from Jeffrey. Karma donation for a March 7th through 10th first responder fully vaccinated guys trip with comped rooms at the Cromwell. Love the show and keep up the great content. Oh, well, thank you, Jeffrey. That's great.
Thank you. I think we should be thanking you. If anybody in the world needs a very, very loud thank you, it's you guys.
Yeah, thanks again. That's great. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listing showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings and our list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonThat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review of the show. We love getting your feedback. Dr. Mike, please, what do you got?
I'm getting very excited for March Madness.
Yes, coming up. I know. It's going to happen this year. Very excited.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work logistically with all those games in the first couple days. But I guess they've got it figured out.
Well, and I mean, it's from our standpoint, typically we don't go to these events, right? You know, it's been a long time since I've been to a college basketball game. So our experience isn't going to be much different. It's going to be, those first 4 days where it's just basketball all day long and not just, one game, multiple games happening at the same time. Yeah, that first weekend's the best.
For us at 8:00 at night, there's a game starting. Yeah. That's what we love.
That's right. As West Coasters, that's rare. I understand people on the East Coast are used to that, but a sporting event starting at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, that's unusual for us. Yeah.
That's great for us. The other thing is, I don't know if you saw the power rankings for MLB. They all list the Dodgers as the number 1 team in baseball.
Yeah.
And who is number 2?
Boy, I'll tell you.
But our very own Padres.
The NL West is going to be a battle this year.
It is unbelievable to have the number 1 and number 2 teams in the same division. I mean, with or without fans, that's going to be very exciting. I know. We're homers. We love our Padres, and hopefully they'll do well. And we'll probably be let down in the end.
Well, we'll have an excuse, right? Because the Dodgers are so good.
Why do they have to be in our division?
I know.
I don't know if you realize this, but we've been to the World Series twice. And the first time was against a team that at that point, the Detroit Tigers had like the best start of any team in the history of baseball.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Start to the season. They were unstoppable. And then the next time we get in the World Series, a few years later, it's the Yankees, the team that has won the most World Series of all time.
Yes.
And they were a huge juggernaut that year too, and we didn't win a game.
All right. Wrap it up, Dr. Mike. They've all heard this whining about San Diego sports, all right? Wrap it up.
I know. I just can't get it out of my head, Mark. There's only 2 things I think about every single day.
Please only tell us one.
I'm only going to tell you the one. It's our miserable sports history here in San Diego.
Yeah.
And for people who don't live here, I don't know if you've seen, but they're tearing down the stadium.
Yeah.
Have you seen? There's very little of it left.
Yes, that's something else. Yep. So what Mike's talking about is the stadium that the Chargers and the Padres used to play at. They're tearing that down. The Padres now play at Petco Park downtown.
But that's what we've been through here. So we've been waiting for that World Series championship. And maybe this is our year.
Maybe.
And one other quick thing. I'm glad Tiger Woods wasn't hurt.
Oh, yeah. God, that was something else. Good grief.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, as far as sports go, I've kind of always been a Tiger fan. And only because I like people who are the best at what they do.
I know exactly what you're saying.
He's got problems like everyone else in the world. But when it comes to golf, you know, Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, those are my heroes. Michael Jordan and basketball. I mean, they're just guys that are at the top of their thing.
Yeah.
And I guess that's it, Mark.
All right. Well, very good. Again, we will talk one more time before the poker tournament, but if you haven't joined our home game group, send us an email with your PokerStars username. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Good night.
Oh, sweet mother, I love you, Dr. Mike.